Governor of California, Gavin Newsom, gave an incredible interview to MSNBC where he absolutely tore apart the Republican Party and did so in a way that we've started to really know Gavin Newsom for: unapologetic, clear, striking the correct tone for the moment. So we'll go through a few of these clips, starting with the subject of the border deal. For context, before playing the clip, Schumer, Biden, Senate Republicans, plus Mike Johnson for a second there, crafted a bill to address issues at the southern border. I've done a more in-depth analysis of the situation in the past. I won't do it all again, but we've been talking about this a lot, by the way, on the bonus show, lukebeasley.com/membership. But essentially, Trump started calling Republicans and telling them to oppose the deal. Tom Emmers, a Republican congressman, admitted he's opposing it because he doesn't want to help Joe Biden's poll numbers. And Mitt Romney said, yeah, they're opposing it because Trump wants to use this as an issue going into 2024. Romney does support it, though. And it's one of the most cynical moves by Republicans you can imagine. They've been asking for more action on the border. A massive deal is proposed to do just that, and they shoot it down because they want to exploit the moment, exploit the problem for political purposes. CNN reports. In recent weeks, Trump has been lobbying Republicans both in private conversations and in public statements on social media to oppose the border compromise being delicately hashed out in the Senate, according to GOP sources familiar with the conversations, in part because he wants to campaign on the issue this November and doesn't want President Joe Biden to score a victory in an area where he is politically vulnerable. Similar to how Trump is rooting on an economic crash so he could run on that. It's disgusting. I said a long time ago that the way they lie about Biden's record on the border, saying he opened it or did some radical policy change to stop enforcing laws at the border or something, is proof that they likely wouldn't want to discuss solutions. Back then I was saying that because if you're honest about wanting a solution, you're honest about discussing the problem, but they don't want a solution. And now we're seeing that play out in real time. Pretty stunning. Here's Gavin Newsom's response.
Mitch McConnell, I thought that was shameful, what was reported out, that he's just completely rolling over and capitulating. Don't even get me started with the weakness of the current Speaker of the House. I mean, they don't want a deal, period, full stop. They don't want a deal. They don't want to make this a quote-unquote campaign win for Joe Biden. It's just everything you need to know about the fraud that they're perpetuating on the issue of the border. They want to make this a political issue. Consistently, they have wanted to make it ever since there were a few brave souls with that Gang of Eight. If we all remember those black and white movie days.
Yeah, I'm old enough to remember that.
And ever since there, they just walk away. They run away. The first day he was in office, not the next day, the same day he gets sworn in, he puts out a comprehensive immigration plan. And yet you didn't have a counter. They had no strategy in terms of the Republican Party even combating that. They just wanted to kill it. They didn't want to debate it. They didn't want to engage. $14 billion proposal. $14 billion. That's his latest proposal to address their stated issue of border security. 2,300 new Border Patrol agents. Another 1,000 in addition to that to deal with fentanyl. Close to another $1 billion, $850+ million just for new technology. And then address some of the issues of backlog on asylum to address those that are here waiting for asylum claims. They won't touch it. They don't want to solve this problem. They want to use it for political purposes. And again, I say this as a border state governor. No one has to introduce me to this issue. We're the largest port in the Western Hemisphere in the state of California. We live this. And I think it is a disgrace what the Republican Party is doing, what Donald Trump is doing. And this is hidden in plain sight. He sent out a tweet or some truth, whatever, saying, kill it. And these guys are so weak. It's so pathetically weak, this Republican Party. And the new speaker said, oh, yes, sir, what else would you like us to do? We don't care about America. We don't care about our freedoms and liberties. We care about politics exclusively at the expense of the American people, because all we care about is winning for winning's sake. That is shameful.
And it is absolutely shameful. We'll get to more from this interview in a little bit. But first, I've talked about these feelings again a lot on the bonus show, not trying to plug that so much, but you can go become a member at lukebeasley.com/membership. But this one is really shocking me. Not because I'm not aware that these are the sorts of games that are played by MAGA Republicans. By now, I should be very aware of that. But I guess because a little part of me wanted to stay a little naive. A part of me wanted to believe that this would be too much obstruction, right? This would be too far, too much of a political exploitation of a moment, but obviously not. And it's yet another reminder of the stone cold fact that MAGA Republicans, and thus the Republican Party, because it's now controlled by MAGA, is not interested in governing. They're not interested in solutions. They weren't interested, as Gavin Newsom pointed out, in Biden's original immigration reform bill that he introduced right when he got into office. They weren't interested in meaningfully discussing the issue for years, and now they are interested in engaging on this. And why? Because Trump's calling them, asking them to shoot it down for his political gain. That, as if we needed another example of this, but that should prove to people that they have no business being in government. If you get exactly what you've been asking for and you shoot it down to hurt Biden politically, you've shown the entire country your priorities, and that's power over people. The really discouraging part of this, though, is that a lot of voters either won't hear about this or they won't care that it's happening. And that's how this whole obstruction game works. That's why it keeps getting played. I've had people who will say Biden hasn't done enough, and that's why they're upset with him, even though he has done more than any president in 50 years, at least legislatively. But if you feel that way, your rage should be directed at Republicans, plus people like Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema. If Biden had gotten his way, his originally proposed Build Back Better would have achieved free community college, childcare, paid family leave, universal pre-K, enhanced child tax credit, extended. It was cutting child poverty in half and could have continued to do that. Dental, hearing, vision under Medicare for Medicare recipients. Everyone would have had insulin costs capped at $35 out of pocket per month, as Medicare recipients got in the Inflation Reduction Act, but that would have applied to everyone, and on and on and on. Do you know who prevented all of that? Republicans. And again, a couple conservative Democrats. So instead of directing your anger at Biden or most of the Democratic Party, direct it at Republicans. Vote them out and we can see Congress get back to work, as opposed to whatever the heck you call this that's been going on. And Democrats with tiny majorities in 2 years, we got the American Rescue Plan, PACT Act, Chips and Science Act, Inflation Reduction Act, Infrastructure Law, Gun Safety Bill, etc. Imagine what could be done with a more significant majority. A lot is the answer. But the obstruction works because a lot of people don't know exactly why these things are being blocked. They just know Biden wasn't able to do X, Y, or Z, which is why MAGA Republicans keep obstructing. Moving on from that, here was Gavin Newsom's reasoning for him keeping up so much with Fox News and even appearing there from time to time, like his debate with Ron DeSantis.
Do you feel like you're making a difference when you go on Fox News?
I don't know. My father-in-law
decidedly less bullish.
He's like, oh, you're on.
Your father-in-law is noticing.
Republican. I mean,
the family dinners are, yeah, okay.
No, I mean, because I'm not saying
that
no
critically.
Animus. Everybody wants to be loved, needs to be loved, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this fundamental notion, man, we're just all human beings.
Yeah.
And I have love and respect for people I disagree with. I don't want to talk down or past anybody. Quite the contrary. And I want them to know I'm listening as well. And I am listening to Fox. I do listen.
Yeah.
And it's hard. I mean, it is hard. It's demoralizing sometimes too. But the misinformation, disinformation is next level. And I figured, okay, you could just be in denial about that or accept it and just say, well, that's not the world I live in. Well, there's no leak on your side of our boat. We're all in this together.
Yeah.
And we have to cross-pollinate. And we have to define the term. Divorce is not an option. Sorry, Margie Taylor Greene, or whoever said that.
Yeah.
It's not an option. We can't afford that. So getting on those platforms, showing, to the extent I can, respect by showing up, and then asserting myself, because I do think we have to disabuse ourselves, that we can just intellectually win by stating all these facts, goes back to the beginning of this conversation, and statistics. We've got to get into the zeitgeist of how people are feeling, and we've got to push back. We've got to get into that bloodstream.
And that's why I've done so much content on the ground at Trump rallies and with mochas with MAGA. Something to me just feels fundamentally wrong about isolating so much. It allows for us to truly create two separate worlds to live in and rarely leave them. Then no wonder there's so much division. Now, to be clear, this is not going into other spaces to capitulate to the incorrect principles and the lies being perpetuated. Quite the contrary. It's to see if, even in a really microscopic way, you can break down some of those walls. I admit it's a pretty hopeless mission, but I think it's still important. And also to learn about the way people think, the way people come to hold certain positions so that we can better understand how to respond. Going to Trump rallies, for example, really helped me firm up my belief that it's a cult. These aren't one-off examples going viral online and cut out of context, and that's not really representative of a big movement. This is so prevalent at these sorts of events, and that's something that seeing helped me really comprehend, which is unfortunate to have to comprehend that, but it's necessary, and it helped me adjust my political messaging. Then in this clip, Newsom articulates some hope about the upcoming election.
Progressives, Republicans, independents, whoever, might be a little bit stunned that you have, what did you say, an incredible feeling of wellness? Is that right?
Well-being.
Well-being, sorry.
Getting out there, getting on the campaign. We've just started. Tag, we're it. Democrats. Isn't this great? We don't have to just watch this Trump show 24/7 in this primary where they're defining the terms of the debate and we're reacting to that every single day. We're now on the campaign trail. First primary, nation's first primary, February 3rd. Elections today, tomorrow, this weekend. It ends February 3rd. Early voting. This is what it's about. This is what we're best at because we keep crushing it. Democrats, we keep crushing it. Look at all the elections you've won, Democrats. You keep winning. You keep outperforming. It's extraordinary. Pat yourselves on the back. Our message is working. Our values are American. They're universal values. Our policies, Republicans begrudgingly celebrate and accept. I heard the governor here in his State of the State last night, and he talked about these new EV investments in his state. Really, Mr. Governor, that tried to oppose that and is sitting there with Trump? They can't even help themselves, but they're beneficiaries of all this because that's the character and decency of the Democratic Party, that we support people even if they didn't support us in the election.
So there it is. Newsom is hopeful. Make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel. And if you want to go a step further, you can become a member at lukebeasleyshow.com/membership.